Yeah, pretty weird behavior. So YouTube responded over on Twitter, over on X, and they said they reviewed my video about the Ian Carroll episode of Joe Rogan where they talked about John Podesta's emails, still in torture chamber, and sending a 6-year-old kid to a heated pool for, quote, entertainment. Those were some of the emails over on WikiLeaks of former White House advisor John Podesta communicating with known human traffickers. This is a person who is friends with Jeffrey Epstein. And somebody close to him is harassing me by policing all of my content and reporting it to YouTube, and YouTube is siding with this individual. So that is abuse of somebody. That is harassment of someone, me. I waited 8 years to get my voice back. I've been very careful and diplomatic on here since January. Every single video has been essentially a work of art. And every single podcast episode I've put time into, not only researching, of course, but thinking about before I go live or before I hit record, and really asking myself, is this the kind of content that I want to put out into the world? Essentially a thought experiment or a piece of art. I always thought if I ever got my platform back, I would do things in the right way. And as far as I can tell, I am doing things in the right way. Again, I'm being restrained. I'm being, thoughtful, logical, compassionate. I don't know what else to do unless I'm literally not allowed to speak in the United States because I talked about a former White House advisor's suspected child trafficking emails almost a decade ago. And now other people are talking about it, like recent Joe Rogan guest Ian Carroll. And I was simply summarizing some of that episode, which is well within my bounds as a journalist. That's not harassment of anybody. It's not doxing anybody. It's not abuse. Again, to unilaterally take down my content and then tell the whole world that I was being abusive via a public tweet on YouTube's account that goes out to nearly 2 million people who follow them, that's abusive. It makes me look like a weirdo. And in the description below, I have a link to the entire episode that was deleted so you guys can still listen to it. And some of you have already listened and you say, yeah, that was mild. That was mild. You said nothing wrong. So this kind of stuff is designed to make me second guess myself. And it's a form of abuse, absolutely. It's a form of partisan abuse. This is exactly what Kash Patel at the FBI and the folks at the DOJ, who are already looking into Google as part of their antitrust investigation. This is something that should be a focus of theirs. I mean, again, this is partisan censorship of Americans, and we voted to end this. Elections have consequences. The American people don't want this anymore. We want to be able to speak freely on American-owned platforms like Google, and this is a return to the Biden days, and it's not okay with me. I'd rather never speak here again than be told that I can't summarize an episode of Joe Rogan, or I can't mention this guy Ian Carroll simply because he talked about PizzaGate. And YouTube had me go through this 7-question. After they deleted my video, they had me go through a 7-question online training. And the questions are just gaslighting. The questions are like designed to abuse you because they're so arbitrary and made up. The first one was like, Sally posts a video about a pizza restaurant where she thinks young children are being abused. Like literally they use PizzaGate as the first example in their weird harassment and bullying questionnaire, their training session. So the very first one is Sally posts a video about a pizza restaurant where she thinks young children are being harmed. Is this a violation of our policies? And I click yes. I assume it is, since they take down all the videos about this, since they protect child traffickers to this wild extent. I assume that is a violation of their policy, but then it goes, no, wrong. Sally is free to post this content. It's her personal opinion, and she lives in America. We have free speech. But apparently we don't. Again, YouTube looks very embarrassed in this particular instance because you guys can go in the description and listen to the complete unedited episode that was removed from here. You can listen to every single word of it. I've already had my lawyers listen to it. There's no abusive language. There are no threats. There's no harassment. There's no haranguing. There's no demands. Simply not abuse. Simply not harassment. And again, you're harassing me by saying I literally cannot speak in my own country after we won an election. One of the major talking points is we want our fucking free speech back. We want our First Amendment. We don't want to be abused like second-class citizens anymore. And we're not going to just take this. So I'll be in D.C. this week. I'll set up meetings with the Department of Justice. It's a different world now. I'll show them the content that was taken down, and I'll show them the communications with YouTube, including, again, mocking me in public. a tweet to their 1.9 million followers saying I was being abusive and harassing. You guys, again, for the third time, please click on the link in description and listen to that removed episode. I did no such thing. And I am tired of this. I am fucking tired of this. And I don't need a media platform anymore. I did quite fine for 8 years without one, aside from my little newsletter, which grew on its own. And I really don't need this level of scrutiny when people are being dishonest about me and dishonest about my words. And it makes me wonder why. Was there something to those emails all along? Are these people human traffickers on a level that most of us can't even really wrap our minds around? Still in torture chamber. That was the email. Still in torture chamber. And then attachments of little children. And then talking about how delicious the pizza looks. And then him interacting with this billionaire Herb Sandler, discussing the cross-country shipment of a box of cheese and security protocol for the cheese. That's a pretty important cheese, Jesus. So these are weird emails. Even nearly a decade later, this stuff haunts me. And to take down any video where I mention my past as a journalist covering it is such an abuse of me that, again, I won't be here anymore until I get assurances you're not going to do this to me anymore. Because you're the ones who told me my account had come back. You're the ones who gave me my 131,000 subscribers back. And now, again, you're policing my content in a way that is simply abusive. There is abuse occurring here, and it's abuse of David Seaman for things that I said nearly a decade ago that turned out to be completely correct. Speaking of completely correct, this Bitcoin reserve is incredible. I know some of the Zoomers in Bitcoin are selling for whatever reason. You can do whatever you want. It's a free market. I'm not going to shame people into selling after the biggest news Bitcoin has ever received. A superpower, one of the richest countries in the world, officially saying that they have begun the task of accumulating Bitcoin for the long term. This Bitcoin strategic reserve completely changes the status of, if nothing else, changes the status of Bitcoin. How can any financial advisor say it's not right for their client? When it's right for the US government, it's right for Uncle Sam. Uncle Sam is hoarding it, so clearly it has some kind of value. Again, such a credibility booster, aside from the fact that now hundreds of thousands of coins are potentially not going to be sold ever. And before this, it was the stance of the government to auction the coins off. Their seized coins from various criminal investigations. It was their policy to auction these coins off in semi-public auctions, usually at just the moment where Bitcoin is starting to show a leg up. Whenever it starts to rip, it seems Uncle Sam would announce one of these monster auctions. And now that's behind us. Now it's a different policy. And the SEC has been reined in. It's different people at the SEC now. Some of the big anti-crypto people have already resigned. Actually, it sounds like nearly all of them have. So the SEC was the organization that was holding crypto back in the US. They had their boot on too many people's throats. And people were concerned in tech that if they launched any kind of product that uses crypto or that accepts Bitcoin as a payment method in any kind of novel way, that the SEC would come down on them with multi-year lawsuits that are very expensive to combat and to defeat. And so that had a chilling effect. People didn't want to build on the blockchain. People didn't want to build around Bitcoin because they didn't want the SEC barking up their tree for the whole time they were trying to do something. But now it's a different world. That organization is literally in a different place than it was under Biden. It's no longer his Praetorian Guard to keep fiat elevated. And of course, these Democrats like fiat because that's how they were getting all their scam money through USAID. All their scam money. And the White House just posted an article confirming that transgender mice, that is where some of the money was going. So this is such a big deal, the White House is even posting about it. That's where our taxpayer money was going. Such a great job, libs. You're doing such a great job banning people from YouTube and sending our taxpayer money over to transgendering mice in Europe and Africa. You're doing such a great job. Just hang in there. Just keep doing what you're doing.
You're listening to Fulcrum News, real news from America and around the world. FulcrumNews.com/subscribe to get our premium membership and updates via email.